Hey, what's going on my friends? My name is Jason. I hope you're all doing absolutely fantastic, and today we're actually on one of my film sets. I thought I'd take a break, do a little bit of video, especially because we're at this really awesome location in Brisbane. I'm loving this place, and this commercial is actually for a Kickstarter commercial, and I'm filming on the A7IV again, really putting it through its paces and actually trying to test it with a few products that I know will actually help with my workflow and has done in a couple of scenes already. Got 2 more scenes to film, and yeah, it's going to be interesting, and hopefully I can smash it out because I'm running out of time, but I want to do this video. But today we're going to be talking about photography, not for video today. Now, one of the main reasons why I'm actually making this video is because I actually want to test the differences between compressed RAW and uncompressed RAW. And when I was in Melbourne, I was doing a whole bunch of photography, and yeah, I really wanted to see the differences between compressed and uncompressed because of the file sizes. Like, uncompressed RAW is pretty much twice the size as compressed RAW, and you just really wonder, is it actually twice as good as the compressed RAW? Like, is it worth actually shooting uncompressed? Is it like the differences between RAW photos and JPEGs? You know, is it a big difference and a noticeable difference? And spoiler alert, I'm actually going to be shooting compressed RAW pretty much all the time now. I don't see a need shooting uncompressed RAW, and I'm going to tell you guys why you might want to consider the same thing in this video. So one of the biggest reasons why you might actually consider shooting in compressed RAW over uncompressed RAW is the file size. It pretty much is half the file size of uncompressed RAW. Let's say, for instance, one of my files was like 64 megabytes or something, and the compressed version happened to be about 30 something megabytes. And I was like, that is a massive difference when it comes to shooting. If you are a wedding photographer and you shoot thousands of photos. I know when I do weddings, I have 2 cameras and I'll shoot like 2000 on one and 2000 on the other. It's like 4,000 photos you got to sift through. And if you are shooting uncompressed RAW, the file sizes are just insane. There is luckily on the A7IV a lossless compressed file, which essentially is a very similar size to compressed, but it holds a little bit more detail. Now, when it comes to detail, yes, there is a slight difference. I took a photo in the same scenario with the same lighting, all the same conditions, and the compressed file doesn't have the same information as the lossless compressed or the full uncompressed RAW. Now, that you could see it in the histograms, there was a very slight difference, but when I pixel peeped, I couldn't see any difference. It was blowing my mind. I was like, why am I even shooting uncompressed RAW? Like, the differences were just so minimal. I was literally, I kid you not, I was pixel peeping and trying to find a difference, and I couldn't. I was doing this for myself. I'm not trying to prove this to anyone. I just wanted to know, should I be shooting in compressed RAW or should I be shooting in uncompressed RAW to try and keep as much detail as I can? And compressed RAW is perfectly fine. I even threw a very harsh stylistic LUT on there, and I really tried to push and pull the colors almost the same. It was splitting hairs, I kid you not. It was insane. I couldn't understand how similar it was. It was just so, it just blew my mind. And then I actually did a little bit of a test when it come to underexposing the image by, I think it was about 5 stops, and I pulled it up by 5 stops in post, and it's the same. I really don't understand. Like, there is barely any difference between compressed and uncompressed. So the key differences between compressed RAW and uncompressed RAW is definitely the frame rate. So you get about 5 to 6 frames per second in uncompressed RAW and about, 10 frames per second of compressed RAW. Now, it really depends on the autofocus of your lens as well, but in the real world, it changes because if a subject is moving, the camera is trying to refocus in each frame. So it really depends on how many frames per second you get and also how many usable frames. But having an extra 5 or 4 frames per second could be that make or break. So, the trade-offs of having compressed RAW and extra frames per second in my opinion, is absolutely worth it. So I'm gonna be shooting compressed raw pretty much all the time now. I don't see a need to shoot uncompressed. So take it or leave it. It's up to you if you wanna shoot uncompressed. Sure, I definitely know there is a difference because the histograms have changed. So it is recording a little bit more information. Is that information usable in the field? Really depends on you. But anyway, I'm gonna leave you guys to it, and lunchtime is over. I better get back into it. I'll see you in the next one. All right, let's get it.